back and thank you for keeping it NTV. You are still watching NTV Weekend Edition and welcome to Talk of the Nation. Now, the country's standard and certification regulator, the Ugandan National Bureau of Standards, this week revealed that uncertified maize millers are engaged in the sale of substandard flour, which is not fit for human consumption, citing that much of the maize flour on the market contains metallic chips from worn-out mills, which poses great danger to the lives of Ugandans, especially school-going children, who are the biggest consumers of the maize flour, thereby advising schools to buy from certified millers. Now, joining us in this discussion is Emmanuel Mwewe, the head teacher of St Janan Luwum Secondary School. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Talk of the Nation.
Good evening to you. I'm glad being here tonight at NTV Weekend Edition.
First of all, what is the cost of feeding students at St Janan Luwum?
Feeding students at St Janan Luwum almost it takes 70%. Actually, it accounts for the largest proportion of expenditure for everyone, the students, the teachers, and everyone in the school. Of course, in all schools, the main food is posho, then rice, matoke is a supplement. Beans, that's usually the main source. Meat is a supplement. Chicken, a supplement. Fruits, those ones come on market days. You give them some fruits.
So you're the custodians of a balanced diet.
Yes, so it's a mixture. And it must be that which keeps a child always want to eat.
Now, the Uganda National Bureau of Standards came out and has called upon schools to buy or procure maize flour from certified millers. I would like you to walk us through the process that you go through while procuring the maize flour that you feed students here, and also where do you procure your maize flour from?
Basically, in schools like ours and many others have suppliers. These are long-time people that we have entrusted with this work, depending on the quality of the supplies that they give us. There are those who supply us fresh foods, those I talked about, the matoke, the cassava, potatoes, cabbage, those fresh foods. We have suppliers from Kalerwe and Nakasero. Then the maize flour, we usually stock. They are our trusted suppliers from Chisenyi that supply us with the maize flour. The beans, we usually procure from the farmers direct.
Well, you said trusted suppliers. If you call them trusted suppliers, do you even get the trouble to check if the food is up to quality? Because I do not know what happens to the food in school. Usually you find that the posho, let me call it the posho, is of a different color. You find that the beans are having weevils, and these are students that you're feeding that are paying millions and millions of shillings.
Now, as a matter of fact, a school, safety and health of children is key. So we take a trouble to do this checking. However, we do not do it with the technicalities that possibly the Uganda National Bureau of Standards may actually want, because this involves hiring a food scientist, which many schools actually we don't do. But we always try to have that so-and-so's food is good, so you keep up with that person. Once you talk about the type, the color, that one depends on what one orders for, because the posho has levels. I think the levels are according to numbers. That's what they call number 1, 1.5, number 2. And actually you'll find that one which people take to be a little brown, that's more nutritious. And though we know it that by
more
standards...
More nutritious proven by who? The scientists?
That's what is assumed. Because the one which is white is purified.
It's over-refined.
Yes, it's over-refined. So people say the other kind of
nutrients
needed, many of them are removed by the over purification. However, by standard, everyone would want to eat something that
clean.
Doesn't irritate
Yes.
your mind. So we always keep buying that, what people call number one.
UNBS, you talked about schools not being able to hire food scientists. Well, UNBS has actually advised that food scientists are necessary for them to monitor the type of food that the schools are giving to the students. What is your take on that?
I think that is okay. Hiring a food scientist to maintain the standard and the quality of food is okay. However, everything should have a prior plan for it to be effectively implemented. How many of the food science do we have in the country? If I may ask you personally, how many do you know that can do this, given the multitude of schools that we have? To me, I would think, one, there must be a deliberate government effort to ensure that this service can be provided at a cheaper cost, that is, by enabling these people to be present. Two, UNBS should outline the known people that they have approved, that company A, company B, company C supplies approved foodstuffs was disturbed during the COVID-19 lockdown, when the government itself was giving out food and beans that people actually disregarded and they never actually consumed it. Yet we know government procures after a thorough assessment, and UNBS itself approves that this is up to standard.
Yes, and actually, if you remember, at a certain point, UNBS came and halted the activity of giving out food because of that complaint that came out.
So, given that kind of background, this is okay. Everyone should eat high quality, high standard food, but schools must be helped to make this happen. And actually, not schools alone. There are many other institutions which have a high consumption of food.
Parents have complained that school fees is really high. I've actually heard of a school where a single student is paying nearly 3 million for secondary. And school heads last year, if you remember that time, blamed it on the high cost of living, high cost of food. And I feel like if you're charging students high tuition fees, don't you think you should give them value for money when it comes to
the school, anything paid for should meet the standard, and the best accountability in accounts is the value for money. However, as the tides keep changing, as more demands keep coming, automatically the burden will always shift to the parent. Quality is what you can afford. So everyone will end up at his or her standard is. But to me, what I say, at whatever standard, let children have quality. Let them have quality food, quality service, and so on. However, the parents must be also prepared to meet the cost of that. Personally, I'm one person who doesn't want to compromise the standards in any way. There is no way how standards can bend to accommodate you. You must meet the measure. But parents must also be prepared to meet the cost of this. That's what it calls for. However, we must all be able to give accountability. If a parent has paid the money, let the child have the satisfaction from the service.
Well, some schools will argue that, I remember I used to hear this saying way back, that you've not come here to eat, you have come to study. And you will find that this has in turn, we've seen some schools where students have gone on strike because of the poor food.
Now, from my perspective and my own understanding, the needs of a child differ from the needs of a parent and the needs of the school. They differ. To a student, priority number one is feeding. Two,
personally,
any student, ask from any school, their first need is feeding.
It is important.
Yes. Then the academics come second. Then their socials, these things, sports, entertainment, interactions, and so on. To them, those are the three needs. You do that, every student will be okay with you. To the parent is interested in the safety of the child while at school, is interested in the academics, that is 2. Then is interested in the discipline of the child. Then me as a school, 1, I'm service provider, but I'm looking at sustainability and continuity. And for us who are in private schools, we look at the continuity of these projects that give the services. However, by training and profession, we look at developing a child's skills, child's morals, and a child's knowledge. By all means, we must ensure that we give the kind of standards that are expected from us.
Now storage facilities is one of the issues that were cited to actually affect the quality and standards of food. Do you think your school has met the standards when it comes to storage, and do you think other schools also do have the storage facilities for their food stuff?
I surely believe most of the schools have the required storage facilities. However, by standards, if you move to Ugandan farmers, very few of them meet the post-harvest standards.
So the issue, you're trying to say that the issue actually starts
It starts from the farmers as far as food is concerned. Because many of them, when they harvest their food, like let me talk about the beans, one will dry the beans from the compound,
and
a dusty compound. So do they take any care of that? So the problem is moved from the villages up to the storage.
But you mean, and all that time there is no cross-checking?
There is no cross-checking anyway. Who does that?
No testing. You also just buy.
Yes, it's not done anywhere. I don't know if you ask from Ugandan farmers, how many have seen it? UNBS people.
No, I mean you as the end user.
Some do, some don't. Remember, very many people want to achieve the best at a low cost. So you may find what this person wants to buy, yes, may squeeze the farmer, buys it at a cheaper cost just because it is of poor quality. But whoever cares about the safety and the standards of the children will do care about this. However, farmers should also be sensitized. 1, for them to achieve the prices they want, they must have the quality that is required. But also the buyers, the end users, should check this quality.
Okay.
However, at school, the storage, because people, those who stock of food in large quantities, fear to make losses after storing. So one will take care of that. Students these days are very assertive. They will not eat beans with weevils.
Yes.
Yes. So for you not to avoid those losses, we always take a precautionary measures to ensure that after goods reaching our storage facilities, they are not spoiled from there. But there should be sensitization even to the farmers.
Okay, as we wrap up this conversation, when are your students from St Janan Luwum breaking off?
We expect to break off as per the set calendar of the ministry. That will be on the 5th of May. Actually, for the students in the old curriculum, we are now in the modes of exams, terminal exams. Those in the new curriculum have their own way of doing things, but we are also trying to wind up to see that everything meant to be taught for this term.
And how are you preparing them for the holiday?
For the holidays, now these new curriculum students are easy to deal with. We give them work to go and research about, projects to go and work upon, even things to go and implement. Because while at school we do a lot of demonstrations and so on. But we would want to have a report from them when they are back. And the students can best do that while at home. And I know many of these children are going to be very useful to parents, given the skills they have gained from school. We want them to implement them.
Okay.
from home.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel Mwewe, the head teacher of St Janan Luwum, for joining us. And that's it for Talk of the Nation. NTV Weekend Edition takes a break, but returns shortly.